What's up, everyone? My name's Nick Fiscella, and I'm posting on House of Champions to profile my third place Majespecter Demise list that I used on October 15th at a regional in New Jersey. So the deck's really hot right now. I think it's on everybody's mind, and I felt good going into this event. Like, my deck would be hard to side deck against and play around. I sided mainly myself for Blue Eyes, and I didn't see any Blue Eyes at all the whole day. It looked like the biggest representation of the meta was Burning Abyss and Majespecters, and there's very little Metal Foe as well. I didn't play against any, and my matchups were very, very rogue heavy. It wasn't a lot of stuff that I expected to see, so I'll read them off to you before I get started. Round 1, I played Odd Eyes Majespecter. Round 2 was my loss of the day to Ties of the Brethren Majespecter. Round 3 was Dark Magician, then Heroes, then Psyframes, then Draco Pals, then Speedroid Burning Abyss with no Phantom Knights in it, then Barrier Demise, and lastly I played Shadal Trains. So it was really diverse, a lot of stuff I wasn't prepared to deal with, but you know, it obviously worked out for me. That being said, moving forward, I think I'm going to convert to a Ties of the Brethren build because it's inherently more powerful in my opinion. And yeah, with all that being said, I'll just hop right into the list. So, to kick things off, obviously we'll do the monsters. It's very standard. There's 3 BunBuku, 3 Cat, 3 Fox, 2 Toad, 1 Kieran, and an Eccentric. So it's just 13 monsters, which is a little more condensed than what I usually see. People usually play like 15 or 16, and I cut down to not risk having to discard monsters as much into off of Demise in the end phase. Plus, you really don't need them. Like, I never really was in a position where I was going to run out of steam or run out of like targets in my main deck to the point where that's what I was going to lose to. If it came down to that point, usually my opponent was very low on resources as well because the deck grinds surprisingly well. So the 13 monsters worked out well. I never missed like Luster Pendulum or anything like that. I think that card's only useful going second and only useful if you have another monster in your hand, which isn't what the deck wants to do. You ideally want to open like one monster and draw power into trap cards. So for draw power, I play 3 Demise, of course, 3 Duality, and 2 Potted Desires. I don't play the third, and I don't play Upstart because this is the 41st and 42nd card in my deck, so Upstart's redundant. I was very afraid of drawing 2 of these in one game because that's just like a surefire way to brick, and you never should attempt to resolve both in one duel. You will deck out. So I just played the 2, and I played 2 over 40 because I didn't want to see it in multiple, and I only saw it in multiples once during the event, I think. Then I played 2 Moon Mirror and 2 Secret Village. So these are like, this is the spice, and this is just something I chose to main instead of side because, so for Secret Village, I think it fits with the theme of what the deck wants to do, which is blow your opponent out in the first turn. I played against 3 spellcasters during the day and sided it out for those 3 matchups, and it put in work against everything else. Like, even the BA guy I played, he said game 3 he had a dead Allure and a dead Twin Twisters in his hand the whole time because he could never activate them because I opened this. And then the Moon Mirror Shield is something I just thought of a while ago. I think it's really, really strong in this deck and fix a lot of the weaknesses it has, where you're only really vulnerable in the battle phase. So if you take care of that, then you're enhancing your defenses, and you're also letting yourself play aggressively by running over stuff you shouldn't be able to during your own turn, like Blue Eyes monsters and like Beatrice or anything you can think of with big stats. They just fall to Moon Mirror Shield. I just didn't care about them. So Moon Mirror put in work during the day. And it's 12 spells, and then for the traps, I play the 4 searchable targets, 2 Tempest, 2 Tornado. I didn't want to max either one because they're kind of cloggy, and you don't want to open them, you want to search them. 2 Pendulum Reborn. This card, you know, of course, everyone knows this card's kind of nutty in this deck, and no other Pendulum deck, interestingly enough. My favorite play with it is, like, I'll have a Secret Village up, and I did this twice today, or at the event. I had a Secret Village and a Majespecter, so my opponent's only way to get to their spells was to run over my Majespecter, so which I let them do, And at the end of the battle phase, I activated this so the Majespecter wouldn't miss timing. Summoned it to the field, and I got a +1, and they went into their main phase 2, still unable to activate spells. So you can do cheeky plays like that and revive XYZ materials you just detached. This card's nutty. Then I played 4 Mirror Forces, 1 Quaking, and 3 Storming. No Drowning, because you always want to control a monster, and you leave a lot of your back row dead if you don't, so it's not worth it to let all those cards be dead for Drowning to be live. So Storming put in work. It was actually the last card I used in my last round against Shadal Trains to win in time, basically. I was up by like 2,000 life points. Then I played the 2 Dark Bribe. This was mainly for Twin Twisters, which I knew a lot of people would main deck because it makes sense to main deck that card. But it also just comes up against like random things that you don't expect to see. In past regionals, I used it against Dawn of the Herald, the ritual spell. I used it against a Cosmojo, a Stormforth, and at this event, I used it against Mask Change, which would have summoned Mass Hero Acid. So it just comes up sometimes, and it put in work. Then I put in 3 Solemn Strikes, Warning, and Emptiness lastly. These are just like the best traps. I think they're self-explanatory. So that's 17 traps for 42 total in the main. Yeah, it's very standard. Then we'll go straight into the extra. So it's just a bunch of rank 3s and 4s because there's no luster for Ignister. So for rank 3s, there's a Break Sword, Grand Pulse, Alucard, Angineer, Nightmare Shark, Acid Golem, and Totem Bird. And then for the 4s, there's Abyss Dweller, Castell, Cowboy, Chidori, Downard, Trapeze, and the Utopia package. You actually end up toolboxing in this deck more often than you might think for Demise, because when you get to the mid and late game, you either have set up scales and gone through Demise, or you've set up scales and you haven't seen Demise at all. Either way, you're going to be advancing your game state by pendulum summoning. And then from there, your natural way to out your opponent's board is to just make XYZs. So I think there are only 5 that I didn't summon during the day, and that was these 3, and the Castell and the Cowboy I never summoned. But everything else I made at least once. So, like I said, after you can Demise, you just toolbox a lot, and it catches your opponent off guard for sure. So, lastly for the side, I played 3 Jougans. This was for anything that like OTKs and like everything special summons. This usually went in, even though my matchups were very unpredictable. I don't put it in against BA because of Fogblade and Farfa and Alec and stuff, but everything else I put it against the hero guy. I put it against the Psy-Frame guy, but that was a very free matchup anyways. I sided this more often than anything. 3 MSTs. This is for other stun decks, and if I saw Royal Decree, I was planning on putting it in game 3, but I never saw Decree, thankfully, because that card's very scary. And I also for Pendulums, this is good. I'd put in all 3 against Pendulums if I could. And the 2 Messenger of Peace are for the same decks as these. It's like Infernoid, Mermail, Blue Eyes. If you can protect this from their the marksman or the infantry, whichever one pops the face-ups, if you can protect this from it, then Mermails have a really hard time getting over this, because everything's big. But I never saw the deck. And the same thing with Infernoid and Blue Eyes. I thought any deck that just wanted to like OTK you in one turn, this would be good against. Didn't see them. So then I played the 2 anti-spells. In testing, it was just surprising how little this card hurt me, to the point where I thought I could side it. I made the mistake of siding 2 against a non-pendulum deck in my last regional. I put in both against Cyber Angels, and I drew both, and it caused me to lose. So now what I do is put in 1 against spell-heavy decks that aren't pendulums, and I put in both against pendulum decks, and it put in work. It won me the round 1 match against Scarier deck, and it won me round 6 against Draco Pals, which was like a rank 4 build. And then I put in 1 against the hero guy, and it definitely slowed him down. Then I played 3 Light Imprisoning. Like I said, there was no Blue Eyes, so it did not come up again, except for the Psyframe guy, who I really just felt bad for because it wasn't his day. Then Soldiering and Macro. These I would take out in... I wanted to play the Transmigration Prophecy, but they didn't come in the mail. So I thought these would be just as good, but like the BA opponent that I played, I sided this against them. I saw this out of the 2, and he just kept calcabbing it, and I never got to even flip it game 2 and 3. So it was annoying. They're good cards, of course, but to me, I'd rather just play like the DD Crow effect of Transmigration Prophecy. I think that would be good. So that's the main extra side. You've seen it all. And lastly, I'll give a few shout-outs. First, I want to thank John quickly for letting me post on his channel. I also want to give a shout-out to Team GOAT, my team with Darren, Kevin, Roy, John, and Steve. And I also want to shout out the Comic Book Depot, which is my locals, best locals in the country. So thanks for watching, everybody.